Welcome to Swatantra Education. In this lecture, we are going to discuss another type of loop, that is for loop. So basically, three common elements are there in a loop. So the first one is the loop control variable with some initial value. The next is loop continuation condition that depends on the loop control variable, and another one is the updation of the loop control variable inside the body of the loop, so that the loop is going to execute or the loop is going to run finite times. So basically we have three elements: loop control variable, loop continuation condition, and updation. So we have discussed about the while loop. So generally each while loop is like this. So we have first the loop control variable with some initial value, or we can say this initialization. Then after initialization we write while, then inside this parenthesis we write the loop continuation condition, or simply we can write condition. Then in the body some statements are there. In the body of the loop some statements are there. Then also inside the body the updation of the loop control variable is written. So basically you can see the while loop of this structure. Now in for loop we can write all the loop control elements, that is initialization, condition and updation, in a single line. So like this, here you can see for, then initialization semicolon, then condition, then update, then inside the curly braces we can write the body of the loop. So for expresses the loop elements more concisely, or we can see all the loop control variables or all the loop control elements you can find in a single line. So it makes the loop, or we can say it makes the for loop easy to read and easy to understand. The expressive power of the for loop and the while loop are same. So each and every for loop is equivalent to some while loop, but in some situations the for loop is convenient, and in some other situations the while loop is convenient. So now let us consider one example. Suppose I want to print Java 5 times on the screen. So using while loop we can write in this way. So int I equal to 1 while I less than equal to 5. Then in the body of the loop we can write system.out.println Java, then I++. So this is the code snippet to print Java 5 times on the screen. Now if I want to use for loop, then I can write in this way. So here you can write int I, then for I equal to 1, I less than equal to 5, I++. Then you can write system.out.println Java. So this is the equivalent for loop. Or here also you can declare the variable I. In place of declaring here int I, you can write int I here, or I can write that here. So for int I equal to 1, I less than equal to 5, I++, system.out.println Java. So this is the code snippet to print Java 5 times on the screen using for loop. This is the code snippet to print Java 5 times on the screen using for loop. This is the code snippet to print Java 5 times using while loop. So here we have declared I inside the loop, so that the scope of the variable I is within the loop only. You cannot use this I outside the loop. But here, as we have declared I outside the loop, you can use this I outside the loop. So we will see some more examples. So here it is written int I. So for I equal to 0, I less than 100, I plus plus, system.out.println welcome to Java. So it is going to print welcome to Java on the screen 100 times. So when I equal to 0, it is print. So from the value of I 0, 1 to 99, it is going to print 100 times welcome to Java on the screen. Now we can also declare the variable I along with initialization. So here we have written for int I equal to 0, I less than 100, I plus plus. So this code snippet also prints welcome to Java on the screen 100 times. Now this one int I equal to 0, j equal to 0. So we can use multiple initialization statement inside the for. Similarly, multiple increment decrement operators inside the for. Now we will see how the for loop actually works. Consider this example. Suppose a simple one, for int I equal to 0, I less than 5, I plus plus, system.out.println Java. So how this code snippet actually works? So first this initialization is going to execute. So int I equal to 0. So we have the variable I and its initial value is 0. Now I less than equal to 5, it is true. So I less than equal to 5, this condition returns true. Then if this condition returns true, the body of the loop is going to execute, that is print Java. So it is going to print Java on the screen. So it is going to print Java on the screen. So in place of writing here, you can write here. Okay. Now after the body of the loop, this updation is going to execute. Then it is I plus plus. So I plus plus means the value of I becomes 1. Now again the condition is checked. This condition is checked, I less than 5. So 1 less than 5, yes, it is true. So it returns true. Then the body of the loop is going to execute. So it is going to print Java on the screen. Now after the body of the loop executed, it again moves to the updation part. So I plus plus, that means the value of I becomes 2. Now again the condition is checked, I less than equal to 5, yes, it returns true. It returns true. So when it returns true, the body of the loop is going to execute. So the body of the loop means print Java. So it is going to print Java. Now after executing the body of the loop, the control moves to the update, or we can say the value of I is going to be updated. So I becomes 3. Then again the condition is checked, 3 less than 5, yes, it is true. Then the body of the loop is going to execute again. that means print Java. So it is going to print Java on the screen. Now after the body of the loop, again I++ is executed. So the value of I becomes 4. Then 4 less than 5 the condition, yes it is true. Then if the condition is true, it is going to execute the body. So it is going to print Java on the screen. Then once the body of the loop is to be executed, the controller moves to the I++. So the I value becomes 5. So 5 less than 5, it is false. So when the condition becomes false, the loop is going to terminated. So before the loop terminates, it prints Java 5 times on the screen. Assume a number is given and it is 10. So we want to find all the factors of 10. So for this we can start from 1 and check whether 1 is a factor of 10. Yes, 1 is a factor of 10. Then print 1. Now move to 2. Whether 2 is a factor of 10. Yes, 2 is a factor of 10. So print 2. Then move to 3. Whether 3 is a factor of 10. No. Then move to 4. Whether 4 is a factor of 10. No. Then move to 5. Whether 5 is a factor of 10. Yes, 5 is a factor of 10. Then print 5. Then move to 6. 6 is a factor of 10. No. Then move to 7. 7 is a factor of 10. No. Then move to 8. 8 is a factor of 10. No. Then move to 9. 9 is a factor of 10. No. Then move to 10. Whether 10 is a factor of 10. Yes, 10 is a factor of 10. Then print 10 here. So here you can see we have printed all the factors of 10, that is 1, 2, 5 and 10. So these 4 numbers are the factors of 10. So now how to write these things using a program, or how we can write a program using this concept, and that is going to print the factors of 10, and these are 1, 2, 5, 10. So to keep track of these values from 1 to 10, we can take a variable and assume the variable name is I. So I keeps track of these variables starting from 1 and 10. Now for this we can use a loop, and for each values of I we are going to check whether I is a factor of 10. So if I is a factor of 10, then we print that value of I. So here we are considering 10. Similarly we can consider 20. Similarly we can consider 30. Similarly we can consider any value n and find the factors. So how to write this? So we can write the code for int I equal to 1, I less than equal to 10, because we want to find all the factors of 10, that's why we have written 10. And if we want to find the factors of n, we can write here n, I less than equal to n, then I plus plus. Now if n modular division I equal to 0, that means if I is a factor of n, system.out.println I. So this is the code snippet to find the factors of a given number n. So you can see the complete program like this. So this is the complete program. So here Java import java.util.scanner class test public static void main scanner IP system.out.print enter a number. Now int n equal to ip.next int. So n stores or receives the number that is input by the user. Now we can write here system.out.println the factors are, then for int I equal to 1, I less than equal to n, I plus plus, if n modular division I equal to 0, system.out.print I plus /t is for tab or for some space after the number. Now this curly braces is end of main method, this is end of class test. So you can see the code snippet here that we have already discussed. Now suppose we want to check whether a number is prime or not. So consider a number, suppose it is 7. So we know that a number is prime if it has only two factors, that is 1 and the number itself. So if we find any other factor except 1 and the number itself, then we can say that number is not a prime number. Suppose for example 7, it has factor 1 and 7. So it has only two factors, so we can say 7 is a prime. Now consider another number 10. So its factors are 1, 2, 5 and 10. So it has 4 factors. So we can say this is not a prime, and here 7 is a prime because it has two factors. Now similarly you can consider another number, suppose 9. So it has factor 1, factor 3, factor 9. So it has 3 factors. So it is not a prime. For prime numbers, the total number of factor is 2. So 1 is 1, another one is the number itself. So here for 5, one factor is 1 and another factor is 5. So we can say this 5 is a prime number. Now we want to check whether a number is prime or not prime. Suppose for example consider 10. So we know that 1 is a factor of every number, so we can start from 2. Now whether 2 is a factor of 10, yes, 2 is a factor of 10. So 2 is a factor of 10, yes. So we can say the number 10 is not prime. No need to check other factors, because once we get a factor other than 1 and that number, then we can say the number is not prime. Now suppose consider another number 15. So we start from 2. Whether 2 is a factor of 15? No, 2 is not a factor of 15. Then proceed to 3. Whether 3 is a factor of 15? Yes, 3 is a factor of 15. So we can say 15 is not prime. Similarly consider another number, suppose 7. So we can start from 2. 2 is a factor of 7? No. Then move to 3. 3 is a factor of 7? No. Then move to 4. 4 is a factor of 7? No. Then move to 5. 5 is a factor of 7? No. Then move to 6. 6 is a factor of 7? No. So we can say that we did not find any factor from 2 to 6. Then we can say 7 is a prime number. Similarly we can say another number, that is 17. Now we start from 2. Whether 2 is a factor of 17? No. Then move to 3. 3 is a factor of 17? No. Then move to 4. 4 is a factor of 17? No. Then 5. 5 is a factor of 17? No. Then 6. 6 is a factor of 17? No. So in this way we can proceed up to 16 and we don't find any factor of 17 from 2 to 16, so we can say that 17 is a prime number. Now one concept you need to remember, that to check whether a number is prime or not, no need to check up to that number minus 1. Here we are verifying whether 7 is prime or not, so no need to check up to 6. So if we do not find any factor up to the square root of 7, then we can say the number is prime. So what is the square root of 7? So it is like 2 point something, so we can check up to 2. Now here for 17, so what is the square root of 17? So it is 4 point something, so we can check up to 4. So if we do not find any factor up to 4, then we can say that 17 is not a prime. Now consider 25, another number. Whether 2 is a factor of 25? No. Then move to 3. 3 is a factor of 25? No. Then move to 4. 4 is a factor of 25? No. Then move to 5. 5 is a factor of 25? Yes. Then we can say it is not a prime. So for every non-prime numbers, we are going to get a factor within the square root of that number. So if we are not getting any factor within the square root of that number, then we can say that number is not prime. So here for 25, if you check for 5, it is sufficient. Similarly for another prime number, suppose 29, so we can start from 2 and we should proceed up to the square root of 29. So it is equal to 5 point something, or if we proceed up to 5, then it is sufficient. No need to check up to 28. Okay. Now how to write this concept using a loop? So we can, for any number n, we can start checking for the factors from 2. So we can write for I equal to 2, I less than equal to math dot square root of n, because we want to check whether n is a prime or not, then I plus plus. So if we find a factor, that means if n modular division I equal to 0, then we can break. That means no need to check whether, no need to check for other factors. Now before break, so we can write here a boolean value, assume p, boolean p equal to true. Now if we find a factor, we can make this value to false. So here we are writing break. Break means the loop is going to be terminated and the control comes out of the loop. So here we can write, this is the body of the loop and this is the body of the if statement. So if n modular division I equal to 0, then we can write p equal to false. Initially the value of p is true. Now if we find a factor, we can make the value of p equal to false, then break. Break means the loop is going to terminated. This for loop is going to terminated. Now we can write here after the loop, if p, or we can write if p equal to true. Here for simplicity I am writing here, if p equal to true, then we can write system.out.println, the input number is prime, or anything you want to write you can write, or I am writing simply prime. else means when p value equal to false, we can print not prime or non-prime, anything you want to print you can print. So if p equal to true, that means we did not find any factor of n, that means this statement is not executed. So we can say n is prime. So if p false, that means we have find a factor and this statement is executed, so the p value is updated to false, then we can say the number is not a prime. So here instead of writing if p equal to true, here you can simply write if p. So if p is sufficient, because if true, the system.out.println prime. If this is false, that means the control comes to the else part, we can say we can print the system.out.println not prime. So we can use this concept in a program to check whether a number is prime or not. So here you can see the complete program. So here int n equal to ip dot next int. So the n variable n stores the value received from the user. Then we are taking a boolean variable. We are taking a boolean variable p, and initially the value of p is true. Then using a for loop, we are going to check whether there is a factor of n exists or not. So if n modular division I equal to 0, then we are updating the value of p equal to false and break. Break means the loop is going to be terminated. So if we find a factor, then no need to check for other factors. We terminate the loop and say the number is not prime. Now after this loop we write if p means if the value of p is true, then this statement is going to execute. That means this part is never executed. That means we don't find any factor of n. So we can say the input number is a prime. Else means if the p value is false, that means this part is executed. So when this part is executed, if we find a factor, so the value of false p is false means we have find a factor of n, and we can say the input number is not a prime. So we have discussed about the while loop and for loop. So we have another type of loop, that is do while. So while and for are the pre-test loop. That means first they test the condition and then execute the body of the loop. But do while loop is the post test loop, where the body of the loop is executed first, then the condition is checked, or we can say the body of the loop is executed before testing the condition. Assume the condition is false. So if the condition is false, then in while and for loop the body is never executed. Body of the loop gets never executed. But in do while loop, first the body is executed, then the condition is checked. So if the condition is false in do while loop, the body of the loop is executed once. Body executed once if the condition is false. So we can say the body of the loop in do while loop is executed at least once. A do while loop is same as while loop, except that it executes the body of the loop first and then checks the loop continuation condition, or we can say simple condition. So in do while loop, first we execute the body of the loop and then we go for the condition. Otherwise it is same as the while loop. So now we will check the syntax of do while. So the syntax is like this. So do, then inside this curly braces we write the loop body or the statements. Then after this curly braces we write while, then loop continuation condition, then semicolon. So here this semicolon is important. Please note this. In do while loop, after while you need to give a semicolon, but in while loop no semicolon is there after while. So this is the syntax of the do while loop. So here the loop body is executed first. Here the body is executed first and then the loop continuation condition is evaluated. So if the evaluation is true, so if this loop continuation condition evaluates to true, the body of the loop is executed again, and if the loop continuation condition evaluates false, the loop is going to be terminated. So we can see the flow chart of the loop is like this. So first the statement or the loop body is going to execute, then the control comes to the loop continuation condition, and if the continuation condition returns true, then again the body is going to execute. Then again we check the condition. If the condition is true, then again we execute the body. Now when this condition becomes false, the loop is terminated. So the difference between a while loop and do while loop is the order in which the loop continuation condition is evaluated and the loop body is executed. So we can write a simple program using do while loop. So please note that the expressive power of while loop, do while loop and for loop are same. That means each do while loop is equivalent to some for loop and some while loop, but in some situations the for loop is preferred, or we can say the for loop is convenient. In some other situations the while loop is preferred, or we can say the while loop is convenient, and in some other situations the do while loop is convenient or the do while loop is preferred. Now, so initially the value of I equal to 0, then do system.out.println welcome to Java I++. So it prints welcome to Java and increment the value of I. Now I becomes 1. Now while I less than 100, so this condition, the value of I is 1, so 1 less than 100, it is true. Then again the body is executed, it prints welcome to Java. Then I++ I becomes 2, 2 less than 100, so it is true. Again it prints welcome to Java and the value of I is updated to 3. So like in this way, this is going to print welcome to Java 100 times. So we have discussed using for loop and while loop how to print welcome to Java 100 times. Now this is the code snippet for do while loop, where we should use while loop and where we should use for loop, where we should use do while loop. The for loop is preferred in the situations where we know the number of iterations the loop is going to execute. That means if we know before the execution that the loop is going to execute 5 times or 10 times or 15 times or 20 times or I times or j times or n times, then in that situation the for loop is preferred. Suppose we want to find the factors of n, then we can say the loop is going to execute at most n times. Now suppose we want to check whether a number n is prime or not. So in that case the loop is going to execute at most square root of n times. So in this scenario the for loop is preferred. Now in some other situations where we don't know how many times the loop is going to execute, in that situations the while loop is preferred. Suppose for example GCD. So if we want to compute the GCD of two numbers using Euclid's algorithm, then the condition is like this: while n greater than 0. So we don't know the loop is going to execute how many times to reach the value of n equal to 0. So we don't know how many times the loop is going to execute. So in that scenario the while loop is preferred. Now another loop, that is do while loop. So do while loop is preferred where the body of the loop is going to execute at least once, or we can say in menu based programs the do while loop is preferred. So the for loop is preferred where we know the number of iterations, the while loop is preferred where we don't know the number of iterations, and do while loop is preferred in menu based programs. Now we are going to discuss one example of the do while loop. So suppose we have a program to read the integer data until the user enters 0, and when the user enters 0 the loop is going to terminate and print the sum of the integers received from the user. So here in this scenario, so first the program asks the user to enter a number, then the user is going to enter either 0 value or non-zero. So in this situation the program is going to ask the user enter a number at least once. So the loop is going to execute at least once here. So in this situation the do while loop is preferred. So here you can see the complete program. So we have taken a variable data and we have taken another variable sum, and the initial value of sum is 0, and inside the body of the loop we are writing print enter a number, and data is going to receive that number, and we are updating the value of sum, that is equal to sum plus data, and the loop is going to continue while the value of data not equal to 0. So when the user enters 0, this value of data becomes 0 and this condition becomes false, and the loop is going to terminate. So when the loop terminates, it is going to print the value of sum. So here the do while loop is preferred because this thing is going to execute at least once. Otherwise you can write the program using while loop, or you can write the program using for loop also, but here do while loop is preferred.